Oh my goodness, what a beautiful speckled trout.
What a beautiful critter, man. Woo!
Penn gets a bad rap for being heavy, building heavy reels, but that's really old school thinking. That's old school Penn. If you've been paying attention in the last 5 years, we've put out a lot of lightweight gear. The Clash spinning reel is the lightest weight spinning reel we've built to date. Hi, I'm Mike Rice, Penn brand manager, and I'm here to tell you about a new launch. This is the Clash spinning reel. These will be available fall 2015. So we're going to offer a wide range of sizes in the Clash. We're going to go all the way down to a 2000. We've got a 2500, a 3000, a 4000, a 5000. So think really super light braid, 10-pound braid, you know, catching speckled trout. God almighty, it's a good trout. And then we've got a 6000 and 8000. Think 80-pound braid, think catching tarpon, catching jacks. So full range of sizes there. The reels are divided into two groups. So the 2000 through the 5000 have a rigid resin rotor. And that rotor is a very high strength graphite rotor. But it's a rigid, we're using rigid resin here to save weight. The 2000 through the 5000 are designed to be super lightweight. The 6000 and 8000 have an aluminum rotor and weren't necessarily designed to be super lightweight reels. But in terms of weight, the Clash spinning reels are the lightest reels Penn's ever designed. So down here on the 2000, it's a little over 8 ounces, it's about 8.2. The 2500 comes in the mid-8s. The 3 and 4 are basically 10.3 and 10.7 ounces respectively, and then the 5000 comes in at 16.8 ounces.
As a professional angler, a lightweight reel is really important. If you're going to cast 1,800 times a day, weight is a huge concept to us. You don't want to have a sore back at the end of the day. The Penn Clash family of reels enables me to use a one size larger reel than I normally would use. Instead of using a 2000 series, strictly because it's a lighter reel, I can use a 3000 series reel. I can hold more line and I can have a little beefier setup in case a big fish comes along.
The biggest technological advance on these Clash spinning reels is going to be the gear system. So we've designed what we're branding as CNC gear technology. And what that means is we're machining drive gears out of both aluminum and brass. So in the Clash reels, you're going to be able to have a fully machined gear train. And in the 2000 through 5000, we're using aluminum. That's the lighter colored metal there. In the 6000 through 8000, we're using brass. And the pinion gear is machined out of brass as well. And what that does for the angler is it provides smoothness out of the box, first of all. But over the long term, it provides durability. So with the CNC gear technology, we're able to machine the tightest tolerances between the main and pinion gear. So you're reducing that play in there, which causes roughness over time. When tested against a normal die cast gear, which is used pretty extensively in the industry, the CNC gears, we ran them for about a week on the test without failure. They actually maintain the same level of smoothness. A typical die cast gear failed at about 16 hours. So the new CNC gear technology that we built into the Clash reels does a couple things. It's extremely durable, it's extremely smooth, and it gives you extreme cranking power.
It means you're going to be able to put a lot of pressure on a fish and you're going to have smooth drag and smooth gears the whole time. You're going to be able to get that fish to the boat as quick as you need to. And you're fishing wrecks or structure and you're going to be able to get that fish to the boat instead of breaking that fish off. Golly.
Another new feature you'll notice on the Clash spinning reels is what we're calling our level line oscillation. What that means is we have a slow oscillation, so the spool is oscillating up and down slower than the standard Penn spinning reel. When inshore fishing, casting distance is extremely important. Whether you got spooky fish, clear water, or you just want to outcast the guy in the boat next to you. Our new level line oscillation system has given us our best line lay yet, and what that means is extreme casting distance, fewer wind knots.
That thing goes, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
As a tournament fisherman, it's important for us to be able to get the bait in the right spot, even if we can't get the boat there sometimes. So being able to cast as far as possible is of utmost importance. The Clash family of reels paired with the right line, like this 10-pound spider wire, is a deadly combination. Man, it's hard to beat catching a speckled trout in South Carolina during spawning season on light tackle.
Drag system on these reels is the next thing I want to talk about. So a very important part of the reel. We're using our standard HT100 washer, has been proven for a decade. We're actually sealing it from the top and the bottom. So we've got a seal under the drag knob here, and we've got a sealed bearing underneath the spool. So we're actually sealing it from the top and the bottom. Less salt water getting inside the drag system is always a good thing. Promotes longevity. This is what the drag system actually looks like. So we've got keyed HT100 washers. So you're getting plenty of drag out of a lightweight spinning reel. So if you're thinking about 10 to 15 pounds on the inshore reels, that's more than enough for the type of line that we would be fishing. Little Clash 2500 10-pound spider wire and a 30-inch redfish. It doesn't get any better than that. And then a new feature on the Clash reels is really a part of the drag knob. So this spring is a wave spring, and it's built into the drag knob. This is what compresses as you turn the drag knob. So on a standard reel, you use a coil spring, and what a coil spring does, which we'll show you in the chart, is that it kind of starts out linear and then it planes up at the very end of the drag curve, meaning that you basically can't use the last 30% of your drag. With a wave spring, you have a much more linear drag curve throughout the turning of the drag knob. So you're able to use the entire 15 pounds of drag on the reel. You're not giving up that last 5 because it's ramping up at the end.
You know, the neat thing about this Clash is even when you crank the drag, the range, usually when you go max drag on a reel, it's not real smooth when you max it out. And the full range of drag on this Clash it's smooth from 2 pounds of drag all the way to the max drag on it, which is imperative. That's a good one, brother.
Oh God, where you going, Bubba? He's off to the races. When you're pulling big fish out of marsh grass or hydrilla or even from under a dock, it's real important to have a super smooth drag with a really consistent range, and the HT100 drag on the Clash series of reels is just that. In the world of tournament red fishing, you're only as good as your equipment, and that's why I use a Penn Clash.
Whenever we launch a new spinning reel these days, the question comes up, is it sealed? And the Clash is not sealed, to be clear. We have added a seal into a key location though. So we've added a clutch seal over here on top of the clutch pocket. That's to prevent salt water from getting down into the clutch bearing. The clutch bearing is also known as the anti-reverse bearing. That's what gives you those instant hook sets and keeps the rotor from spinning backwards. From the ball bearing standpoint, we're using all sealed ball bearings. So you can see here's a selection of bearings that came out of the reel. The blue seals show you that it's a sealed bearing. Number one reason why reels go back into the repair shop is because they get salt water in the bearing. When it dries out, that salt crystallizes. The reel becomes rough, the reel becomes noisy. That's why we've gone with sealed ball bearings on the Clash. The Clash reels do have a thick aluminum bail wire. They also have the line capacity rings, so that they mark 1/3, 2/3, and a full spool capacity. And we don't recommend that you fill past that last ring. A lot of times what happens, people using light braid, they go past that last line and you tend to have wind knots. So that's what we designate as a full spool line capacity. And you also have the super line spool band in here, so you can tie braid directly to the arbor. You don't have to back it with monofilament. You don't have to add an extra knot in the chain. You can just spool it directly with braided line. One question that does come up on these reels, it's come up in the past on other Penn spinning reels, the Clash reels do have a rotor brake. So when you open the bail, you will feel a little resistance there. And what that does is it basically keeps the handle from moving forward. So in a lot of cases, imagine it being in the surf, throwing an expensive popper. When you're really leaning into a cast, sometimes the handle has the tendency to want to go forward. That resistance right there is what keeps it from doing it. That resistance keeps the bail from closing during the cast, so that's the rotor brake. Sometimes you feel it when you're in the shop and it feels a little iffy, but if you put it on a rod, you don't even notice it. Rotor brake is now standard on most Penn spinning reels. So that wraps it up. The Clash reels are going to be available fall 2015. They're going to retail between $180 and $260. Check them out at your local retailer.